nanny is a major milestone for your household. If you've already navigated the interview, have agreed on a salary, and have set up payroll taxes, you've done the heavy lifting. But there is one critical piece of the puzzle that is often overlooked until it is too late, and that's workers' compensation. It's easy to dismiss it as just another corporate requirement, but it is actually one of the most important financial firewall that you can have. Today, I want to move past the surface level advice and look at the actual legal risk of skipping this coverage and why the current insurance that you might have might be leaving you exposed. And of course, how this fits into your tax strategy. Now, before we look at the requirements, we need to understand exactly what this insurance actually does. At its core, workers' compensation covers two things: medical expenses and a portion of lost wages if your nanny is injured or becomes ill while on the job. But here's the detail that most people miss. Workers' comp is a no-fault system. It doesn't matter if the injury happens because of a slippery floor or, God forbid, a major freak accident. The insurance pays out regardless. In exchange for providing this coverage, you are often protected by what is called an exclusive remedy rule. This legal principle generally prevents an employee from suing you for negligence if they are injured. Without this policy, you're not just looking at paying a doctor's visit, you are potentially facing a personal injury lawsuit that could target your home or your life savings. The most common mistake I see families make is assuming that their homeowner's policy has them covered. And of course, it's a totally logical thought, but it is often a dangerous one. Most standard homeowners insurance policies are designed to cover guests or the occasional worker, like a contractor or a neighborhood teenage kid who comes over and mows your lawn. The moment an employee, like a nanny, is classified as a domestic household employee, many policies trigger an exclusion clause. If an injury happens and your insurance company determines that that person should have been covered by a mandatory workers' comp policy, they can, and they often do, deny the claim entirely. That leaves you personally responsible for medical bills, rehabilitation, and the potential legal fees. Understanding this distinction isn't just about checking a box. It's about ensuring that a workplace accident doesn't become a personal financial crisis. Now, since every state has its own Department of Labor, the rule changes depending on where you live. However, you don't need to become a legal expert to understand the landscape. Almost every state falls into one of those three frameworks. Firstly, the hour-based requirement. States like California or New Jersey are strict, baby, they're strict. If your nanny works even a few hours a week, coverage is mandatory. Secondly, the wage-based requirement. In other regions, the law triggers once the nanny earns a specific amount. For example, $1,000 a week in a calendar quarter. And lastly, the full coverage requirement. Some states require workers' comp for every household employer, regardless of whether the nanny is full-time or part-time. Even if your state is voluntary, I always recommend looking at the cost to risk ratio. The premium is often negligible compared to the cost of a single ER visit because, baby, we know those hospital bills, steep, okay? Now, let's talk about the numbers. Many families avoid workers' comp because they think it is an unnecessary expense. But in reality, the coverage policy for a household employer costs between $500 and $900 per year. Yes, per year. Here is the pro tip for 2026. Being a compliant employer unlocks the child and dependent care tax credit. When you pay legally and carry the proper required insurance, you can often claim thousands of dollars in credits. In many cases, the tax saving that you receive at the end of the year completely covers the cost of your insurance premiums and the payroll service fees. It is a totally rare situation where doing the right thing legally actually puts money back into your pocket. If you're realizing that you might be underinsured, don't worry. It is a totally straightforward fix. You generally have two paths. Option one, the policy endorsement. Call your current homeowners insurance agent and ask specifically if you can add the workers' compensation endorsement for domestic employees. This is often the most cost-effective route. Option 2, the standalone or the payroll integrated policy. If your home insurance doesn't have it, many nanny payroll services offer a pay-as-you-go workers' comp. This is incredibly helpful because it totally adjusts based on how much you pay your nanny each month. Navigating the world of household employment can feel like a full-time job all by itself. But getting this one piece of the puzzle right provides a level of security that is totally worth the effort. It protects your nanny's livelihood, but most importantly, it protects your family's financial future. I've put together a 2026 state-by-state compliance guide, and I will link it in the description down below. It breaks down the specific thresholds for your state so that you can know exactly where you stand. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.